take that help wanted
border
sign
crossings
down.
have stopped. They have stopped.
They will never
They're
take
literally
down,
almost zero.
But they're not going after the employers.
You
the
said,
white guy,
you said
hang on.
If they wanted them to stop, they would. They have stopped. Already have stopped. Have they not?
No, they have not, and they will continue to come.
Donald
Trump will. Okay, they come here because white
literally
people.
have stopped. Is the border effectively closed?
There are very few border crossings.
Okay.
It's not zero, but it's very few.
Okay.
So let's.
I can tell you
99%.
But let me.
By how we. Well, no, but hang on.
We're a nation of laws.
You belong to a party that likes to wave Jesus around like a prop, my friend.
We are not in a theocracy.
Okay, if I may.
We're in a nation.
But
Are we talking about the Bible or the Constitution or laws enacted by Congress?
You know, hang on a second, John.
Okay, let's do
Do they
it.
help? Do they
Hold
help
on.
Riley? Do they help
John, hang on a second. Scott, hold on a second.
lot
And
more
Jillian.
homegrown folks.
When you deal with pretentious pricks like this guy on CNN, you're going to make a face like Scott Jennings did right here. But it wasn't just that pretentious prick. It was this lady who also had Scott thinking, man, why do I even do this job? Because everybody on the panel, including this Democrat from California and, of course, Abby Phillips, decided to team up on the two conservatives on the panel, Scott Jennings and Jillian Michaels. But neither of them backed down, because this was the most erroneous defense I have ever seen of a huge panel for illegal immigrants. It's Sean Daniel here, and if you love seeing Scott Jennings destroy CNN people, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more videos. I always got them coming for you guys.
Also with us at the table is Congressman Sam Liccardo. Congressman, this is happening at a time when Trump is ramping up ICE raids and detentions, but it's also, no surprise. We know he wants to end birthright citizenship. It's fine that he wants to do that. I think the question here is, how can he do it? Can he just write something on a piece of paper, or does he have to go the constitutional route?
Well, this is just an example of the epidemic of lawlessness in this administration. We now have 8 federal judges who have all said, essentially, that the 14th Amendment means what it says, just as the Supreme Court said 127 years ago. This is nothing startling, and yet the administration is doubling down on an executive order that everyone knows is unconstitutional, and in the meantime, terrorizing cities. We just saw in Los Angeles a group of 8-year-olds in a summer camp having been invaded by a Black Hawk helicopter. This militarization of enforcement is something that is clearly beyond the pale and does not belong in a democracy.
Well, we're headed back to the Supreme Court. I mean, the result of this loophole that this judge found today for a nationwide injunction is that we'll be back in front of the Supreme Court over this. The conservative justices predicted that this would happen, that some abuse of the class action designation could occur. And so, we'll go back to the Supreme Court. I don't know what they're going to rule. I mean, there's some indication that they may not rule in his favor. He has a point of view on it. Other people have a point of view on it. But this ought to be settled as a policy matter by the U.S. Supreme Court. That's where it's going. Actually, I assume it'll be pretty soon.
I think it seems pretty clear based on how the law of this country works, is that if something is in the Constitution, you don't like it, you want to change it, you can change the Constitution. There is a process for that. Why not change the Constitution?
Well, isn't there also another pathway? Couldn't the Supreme Court redefine? There's a very specific term in the 14th Amendment that talks about being under the jurisdiction of.
I think it's very telling that you use the word redefine.
Well, but if we redefine the Second Amendment as well. We went from militia to private gun owners.
If the Constitution says in plain text what it says, why would the Supreme Court have to redefine it?
Well, here's why. Because this, in truth, was not intended for people to come over and Russian oligarchs to come over and have their baby here to essentially buy American citizenship. It wasn't intended to incentivize illegal immigration. It was for slaves after the Civil War. That's what it was intended for. And it's been exploited. Just one moment. And in pretty much every other country in the Western world, they have rolled it back with the exception of the United States and Canada. And it would not be the first time we have redefined amendments.
You're missing a huge piece of history that the congressman mentioned, which was a case in the 1800s. A Chinese gentleman who his parents were from China. They were not citizens of the United States. They were born here, and the Supreme Court ruled that young man was an American citizen. So not only do we have it in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, it has been examined very specifically for the child of immigrants. Mm-hmm. And they were found, this gentleman was found to be an American citizen. So to your question, you should have to go back to the Constitution. Donald Trump won't do that because he knows he would lose if he were to take on the United States Constitution head on. So instead, what we've seen is this lawlessness and this, pressing for, galvanizing more power into the presidency and trying to, basically daring people to stop him.
All right, who do you think's winning so far? Jillian Michaels or this lady? Is Trump actually afraid of the Constitution by taking a case to the Supreme Court? The people who are supposed to be the judges of cases based on the Constitution? I don't see how that's being afraid of what the Constitution has to say. He's just questioning, is it right that these people get their citizenship by just coming here, and how it's been utilized by the cartels, by illegals, by people in the Middle East to abuse our country and just get free reins right in because of what the Biden administration allowed.
Scott, I disagree with you. I believe what Amy Coney Barrett said was they were talking about standing in the initial response, and what they said was you could do it as a class action. They didn't say an abuse of class action. They said you could.
Alito and Thomas predicted that this kind of abuse of this would happen. And that's okay. It's going to wind up back in front of the Supreme Court. And why is that? Why is it lawless to take something before the Supreme Court?
It's not. It's lawless.
They did create a process by which class actions would really be the only way
and
to challenge.
It wasn't followed in this case.
Well, it was. They certified a class.
But they circumvented the process.
The judge certified a class, and so look. I mean, let me just read a little bit of what the judge says. As we said, he has no difficulty concluding the rapid adoption by executive order without legislation and the attending national debate of a new government policy of highly questionable constitutionality that would deny citizenship to many thousands of individuals previously granted citizenship under an indisputably long-standing policy that constitutes irreparable harm. I mean, beyond just the moment that we're in, the idea that we retroactively would revoke citizenship from millions of people who are now probably second and third generation Americans because Donald Trump decided he doesn't like the way that it's written.
I went to law school at a time when conservative jurists and scholars believe that you first look at the plain language of the Constitution before you do anything else. The plain language is quite plain, and yet you have this now desire to reinvent the language of the Constitution that is way out of bounds for conservatives.
John.
Remember, this guy is a Democrat from California, so I wonder why he loves birthright citizenship. Huh. So more illegals keep coming, so they keep becoming voters, so they keep keeping the Democrats in power like him. Now get ready for the most condescending, cocky liberal you've ever heard.
I mean, the only thing Donald Trump hates more than immigrants is the Constitution and the Bible that protects them. And it's worth pointing out he's our only president to have hired undocumented immigrants in 2 different centuries to avoid paying a living wage to an American worker. If they wanted the border crossings to stop, they would go after the employers. There's a gigantic help wanted sign at our border, and the Republican Party will never take that help wanted sign down.
Have stopped. They have stopped.
They will never
They're literally
down,
almost zero.
But they're not going after the employers.
You
the
said,
white guy,
you said
hang on.
If they wanted them to stop, they would. They have stopped. Already have stopped. Have they not?
No, they have not, and they will continue to come. Donald Trump will. Okay, they come here because white people. Okay, may I? They come here because white folks like Donald Trump hire them to avoid paying a living wage to an American worker.
The border is effectively shut down.
And Donald Trump has already said he will not be going after the agricultural sector. The white folks who do the hiring and make the profits have a safe,
the point he's making is about
force.
whether Trump is going to go after the employers, and
I mean,
the answer is no, he's not. But hold on. But look, right now, okay.
Is the border effectively closed?
There are very few border crossings. Okay. It's not zero, but it's very few. Okay. So let's.
I can tell you
99%.
But let me
How many was it during the last?
Right now in the state of Los Angeles,
and they're not going after the employers.
I can tell you the border is not the only way people get in this.
Right now,
majority overstay their visas.
Right now, not anymore. Not anymore, or at least it was not in the last surge. So in Los Angeles, there's a lawsuit right now, actually addressing some of what you're talking about, which is they're challenging ICE's ability to just go to a Home Depot parking lot and sweep people up, to stop people because they look Hispanic, because maybe they're speaking Spanish. This lawsuit is before a judge tomorrow, and there will be a decision on it tomorrow, and it could very significantly curtail the Trump administration's ability to do these sort of wide-ranging raids. But the assertion here is that there's racial profiling going on in these raids.
So if somebody breaks the law in a city and police find them in a parking lot, Home Depot, they can go arrest them. But if they're breaking the law by overstaying in the United States, by disobeying a deportation order, if they're breaking the law by coming into the U.S. and being here, oh no, we can't arrest them in a Home Depot parking lot. Oh no.
It's very much akin to, I'll tell you what frightens.
Very significantly curtail the Trump administration's ability to do these sort of wide-ranging raids. But the assertion here is that there's racial profiling going on in these raids.
Of course there is. It's very much akin to, I'll tell you what frightens me is we've had this before in our history. In the Jim Crow South, when you had young black men being disappeared off the streets. I mean, there is a very real type of terror that is being perpetrated against black and brown people in this country who are being profiled, who are being targeted. And I think John raises a very important point, which is if you really want to stop it, then you go after the employers and you make sure that they don't hold the jobs open. And you make those employers, whether that is a meatpacking, whether that is in farms, whether that is in the Central Valley of California, you pay people a living wage, you give them health care benefits, you treat them like human beings, you create real jobs, rather than, we went from one unpaid labor force to another very low-paid labor force. And this country has worked that way for centuries. And if we really wanted to stop it, we would go after the employers.
I'm just confused. I don't even understand what you're for, because you talk about following the law, but ICE is enforcing law enacted by Congress. Are you for illegal immigration?
Anyone standing on American soil is allowed to claim asylum. And we call these people illegals, but they're Christian refugees. I have this crazy thing I do with the Bible. I read it. And Jesus is emphatic about saying that we will be judged, nations and individuals, in Matthew 25,
we don't
by
live in a
how
theocracy,
we...
right?
Well, no, but hang on.
We're a nation of laws.
You belong to a party that likes to wave Jesus around like a prop, my friend.
We are not in a theocracy.
Okay, if I may.
We are in a nation.
But
Are we
I'm
talking
asking
about
you,
the Bible or the
Please let me finish.
Constitution
Please,
or
I'm
laws enacted by
begging you to let me
Congress?
finish. I'm talking about a political party that uses the pretense of Christianity to get
But
votes.
how did you just pivot all the way over to there?
Because the God of the Hebrew Scriptures commands us to welcome the stranger. Christ says we'll be judged by it. Why should I listen to Donald Trump instead of God and Jesus? As long as your party is using Christianity.
Enacted by Congress.
Yes, well, if you're standing on our soil, you're allowed to claim asylum. If you were born here, you are a citizen.
Hold on, guys, Scott, hold on.
Due process.
Can I ask a
Talking
question?
about following the
Is it
law.
a democratic?
Scott, just a second, please.
Among many.
Okay, did you have an
How about
issue?
we follow due process?
Did you have an issue with the millions of people that Obama deported, over 50% of which did not get due process? And
What do you mean?
Really?
What
Expedited removal, voluntary return,
Expedited removal is in the law.
Millions of people did
Follow
not.
the law.
I believe people had the opportunity to go before a judge and make
That's
their case,
absolutely
actually.
untrue.
Many were turned away at
That
the
is
border.
absolutely untrue.
That's another way to
So that
do
makes it
How
okay
about
now.
Operation Street? That's not my point. It's the
on.
selective outrage
I'm
that
not
I'm
raising-
highlighting.
Plenty of outrage.
Guys, hold on one second. Let me let Jill. Hold on.
Obama.
And
Hold
nobody
on, Karen.
the Justice Department.
Karen
elected
and
to
Congressman.
order.
Please, Abby.
Guys, hang on 1 second.
Oh, they didn't? California is now a sanctuary city. It used to
It's
be
a state, not a
California's-
city.
Good point.
Los Angeles is now a sanctuary city. California didn't have sanctuary cities when Obama was in office, and they cooperated under a program.
How are they
called
making your life worse? How are they hurting you?
That's not my point.
But how are they
Illegal
hurting you?
immigration hurts everybody.
Illegal immigration pumps $5 billion a year into our
hang on a
economy.
second,
Taxes that they
John.
pay.
Okay, let's
Do they help? Do they
Hold
help
on.
Lincoln Riley? Do they help
John, hang on a second. Scott, hold on a
A
second.
lot
And
more
Jillian.
homegrown folks kill women.
Jillian.
Did they
Hey,
help
Jillian. Hi.
Excuse me,
I don't
but
think they
homegrown
did.
Americans
Can
kill
we
at a much
please-
higher rate.
I'd like to put them in jail, too.
Illegal immigration and
Okay, everyone, just stop talking for
immigrants
just a
and
second.
citizens?
Jillian, please stop talking.
Oh my God, she lost control of that whole table. Mostly because of these three idiot libs, the congressman and this idiot guy, who's coming there talking about the Bible, Jesus, but then he's talking about the laws, and then he's talking about Trump, and then he's talking about how it's good to have the illegals, but then how we should go after the employers who hired the illegals. See, liberals and Democrats are all over the place just because they know if they get rid of illegals, they will lose so many votes. And all of the work that the Biden administration did to get them these votes will be gone. So they cannot figure out a real logical point on why we should be defending illegals. So that's why they just change the goalposts like this. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my God. And Abby Phillips, the black lady who's the host, she can't keep control of everybody.
Okay, everyone, just stop talking for
Immigrants
just a
and
second.
citizens?
Jillian, please stop
Sorry.
talking. You all are all talking at the same time. It's impossible to hear or understand. When I say stop talking, please stop talking. Thank you. Jillian, the question I have for you is about the scope of these raids. That's the issue here. It's not even whether or not ICE can target people who have orders of deportation, who they know they're looking for. The question is whether they can go into an area and look at people who look a certain way, or maybe are doing a particular job, and just detain them and then ask questions later. That's the issue at hand here. In that case, that's going to be decided tomorrow.
If that's the issue at hand, obviously I would be completely against racial profiling. But am I confused? Have we deported American citizens because
Yes.
they're
Yes.
black or brown?
Yes, actually.
No.
Yes, there are several city prisons around the
Well,
country.
look,
Did we
look,
deport?
there-
Was an American
There are
citizen?
examples of
several.
people.
Name someone.
There are examples of
Give
people.
me
There are
a
examples of
name.
people who have been detained who have legal status,
Detained
or who are
is different
citizens.
than being
We actually we have it here. I mean. So people with legal status, DACA recipients held in Alligator, Alcatraz. The attorney doesn't know why. Another green card holder also detained in Alligator,
is not
Alcatraz.
deported.
Yeah, but the
And
question
if,
is,
if you're going to give
listen,
me these individuals,
I think that
why
the
were they
question is,
detained?
when you detain them,
Okay.
are they being given due process? And because if they have a reason to not be detained and they don't have a way to prove it, then that's the problem. I think that's the problem that is being raised by some of this. I don't know that anybody is disputing the idea that ICE should, if they have deportation orders, if they're looking for someone, maybe that person's a criminal, whatever, go get that person.
Amen.
But
Okay.
I think what we are seeing, and there's plenty of evidence of this, is that there are examples of immigration enforcement officials going into the wrong home and picking up people, entire families, because they are of Hispanic descent, and then seeking to deport them.
But what's
Are
their
they
status?
here illegally?
Well,
Thank you. Are they
well,
here
listen,
illegally or not?
I think that is a very good
They're not
question.
checking.
That is a very good question. They then have to they're forced into a position where they have to prove that they have status, they have some legal process that is pending to gain status. Some of them do, and they're still detained. Their
exactly what
freedom
you're
is still
implying.
taken
I
away.
think you're skirting around the issue. Vast majority of interactions here are occurring with people who are in the country illegally. But I do have a question. Your view, apparently, and I think it's a valid debating point. But if someone can get here illegally, as I understand it, you think they have an immediate right to claim a status and stay here.
No. My
Is
point
that the position of the Democratic
law
Party?
is if you're on our soil, you can claim asylum. These folks you call
Not
illegals
everybody
are Christian
gets
refugees.
asylum.
All right.
I'm just asking.
We have
what
to
the-
leave it there, guys. Coming up.
You might be able to claim asylum, but it doesn't mean you just get to stay because you claim asylum. That's why you have cases. That's why you have hearings that are set in order, which, by the way, Tom Homan said if an NGO puts you up in a hotel and does not let you get into a detention center, that hearing gets prolonged for years. So then you can just stay freely. But at those hearings is when they decide if you are an asylum, not only seeker, but you're granted asylum. So yes, you can claim it, but doesn't mean you just get to stay once the judge says, you're out of here. My God, that was one of the most intense CNN panels I have ever seen. And Jillian Michaels here on the right, and of course our boy, Scott Jennings, handled that really well, especially with this idiot buffoon who was just trying to be, I hate when they're so condescending and self-righteous like that. Oh my God. And of course, Mr. Democrat over here, yeah, I love illegals. Please stay. Please stay. We need your votes. We did all this work to get your votes. You can't go now. It's SeanDaniel here, and if you want to see another Scott Jennings video where he destroys a liberal on CNN who won't stop defending illegals, check out this video right here, and I will see you, hopefully, in that video. Thanks for watching. Go get him, Scotty boy.